I was just exposed to someone that I had never come in contact with before. I'd never met anyone like Attorney Nuru Witherspoon that had been able to go to college and build a business and to be able to have this level of success. I'd never been exposed to that before. And I was motivated. I was like, hey, if he can do it, I can do it too. And Nuru Witherspoon taught me my third way to respond to my environment, which is to respond with motivation. So he found me and my business partners online, and he called us out to do a video over his law firm, right? He has a law practice, so he wanted us to make a commercial about his law firm. So we went to downtown Dallas. We started filming them, big conference room, glass doors, all that stuff that you see like in the movies. So we filmed that, super cool. After we finished filming at the office, he was like, hey man, can you come out to my house and film some footage of me and my family, you know, just some interactions and stuff like that. I'm like, of course, cool. So he gave me the address to the house. It's in Heath, Texas. Heath, Texas is way east of Dallas. Really nice neighborhood, but I'd never been out there before. So I drive to his house and I pull up and my jaw dropped. That's literally a picture of his old house. Looked like a castle outside. I was like, bro, what? Like I walked to the doors, it's like 12 feet doors, and he has these 2 miniature lion statues, no cap. 2 miniature lion statues on the side of each door. Like they're like guardians. I'm like, what's up? And that's not even the best part of the house. So like we walking through the house and I'm seeing like chandeliers and all this stuff. We get to the back of the house. He has a full court basketball gym in his house. Not like one hoop. I'm like 2 goals on both ends and like hardwood floors. Y'all see this little back extension right here? Like a full court basketball court back there. In his house. Right? My jaw dropped. I was in amazement, not just because of the house he had, but because he was similar to me. Right? I talked to him a little bit. He told me he grew up in East St. Louis. His favorite phrase to tell me is he grew up without 2 nickels to rub together. Right? So without too much money. And then I was like, you were able to get all of this? He's not a celebrity. He's not an athlete. He's not a musician. He's not an actor. He was a guy who went to college, got a degree in law, became good at his profession, and started a business. The same thing that I did. He didn't do anything special. So I remember while we're filming for him inside of this mini mansion that looks like a castle, I remember talking to him and I was like, you know, tell me a little bit about your story. He was like, Micah, I made my first $1 million when I was 24 years old. And like my jaw had already dropped by the house, my jaw just on the floor. I'm like, what? I was 22 at the time, struggling to pay for my college apartment rent. He said he was making millions at 24. I was like, what? But not only was I amazed by the fact that he had been able to get a house that looked like this, or that he had a Maserati in the garage, or that he was able to make millions at 24, I was amazed because he was educated, right? He had a degree. He also was raising his kids with his wife, coming from a 2-parent household. He owned multiple businesses. He also had like a beautiful office in his home where he worked. I was in amazement. So I remember driving back home. I'm driving back to Denton, to UNT, after I finished filming for him that day. And man, I was happy. I felt good. And I was like, bro, why are you so happy? Now, I did have a $3,000 check in my pocket, right? That'll make you feel happy. But I was also motivated. I was just exposed to someone that I had never come in contact with before. I'd never met anyone like Attorney Nuru Witherspoon that had been able to go to college and build a business and to be able to have this level of success. I'd never been exposed to that before. And I was motivated. I was like, hey, if he can do it, I can do it too. And then I was like, there's different ways I could have responded to it. I could have dismissed it and been like, hey, man, his family probably had money. His dad was probably a lawyer. He didn't work for that. He didn't come from nothing. You could have been envious or just hated on him, right? I know one of the big things for me growing up, I always thought rich people were like bad or mean. Anybody ever heard like negative things about quote unquote rich people growing up? Like they're mean or they're bad. I could have thought that. Nuru was the coolest person ever. So I was motivated. That's how I responded to this new environment that I was exposed to. I was motivated. And not only was I motivated, I decided to use Nuru as a resource. Got pizza, I asked some questions about his business. This is actually me and Nuru. This is my first podcast that I ever filmed. First episode, my first guest, I invited Nuru out to ask him more about what he had done with his business. So my question for you is, when you're exposed to new individuals, new environments, how are you going to respond? Will you dismiss it and be closed-minded and be like, oh, I can't do that. Oh, they had it easy. Or will you use those people? Will you leverage them, right? There's people in this room that are in places that you want to go. Your program director, your advisors, those running the camp, they've graduated college. They have degrees. Are you asking them questions, right? Are you using them as a resource? Are you leveraging that resource like I did for Attorney Witherspoon?